This is the aftermath of the 5-ingredient omelet challenge sponsored by the Praying Couple cooking series. I want to thank them for the challenge. I also want to say happy Black History Month. This is our History Month. And something I would like to show is this picture I worked on representing the continent known as Africa, which is where my ancestors are from, and more than likely yours as well. Something else I wanted to do was to highlight some special people that also belong to our ancestors here in this country that became inventors. And a couple I like to mention is, I would like to mention Brother Leonard C. Bailey from Washington, D.C., who eventually invented the folding bed, as well as other inventions that was a benefit to the United States Armed Forces, I would say. Another brother I would like to highlight is George Washington Carver, who was born in Missouri and eventually became known as the plant doctor. He was involved in agriculture and actually invented some things that helped with crop rotation as well as crop distribution. And two of the prominent, I want to, not necessarily vegetables, because peanuts is not a vegetable, but a sweet potato may be known as a vegetable, but those were two of the ingredients that he worked with. And with those two ingredients, he came up with 100 other different uses. Some dealing with medicine, some dealing with actual food production and whatnot. He also dabbled in soybean. But one of the things I would want to make known about George Washington Carver was that he put himself to the side, and rather than go after riches, he decided to become a teacher or an instructor for the Tuskegee Institute that's located in Alabama, which Booker T. Washington was responsible for establishing. Another brother I would like to make mention is another George Washington, but his last name was actually Murray. So his name was George Washington Murray. He was actually a teacher, a farmer, a land developer, and a former slave, as well as a state congressman for the state of South Carolina. Some other brothers I would like to make mention of that we should never forget is Brother Tamir Rice from Cleveland, Ohio, 12 years old, shot by police. Brother Michael Brown from Ferguson, Missouri, 18 years old, shot by police. Brother Timothy Thomas, who was shot and killed by police in Cincinnati, Ohio, as well as Brother Sam DuBose, Brother Paul Gaston, all of which were shot and killed in the city of Cincinnati. And another brother I would like to make mention of is Amir Locke, a 22-year-old brother we recently lost in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Would ask that prayers be sent up for his family's strength, blessings, and comfort in a time of bereavement for losing a loved one senselessly to a no-knock warrant. You would think that this country by now would learn from such instances, especially as a result of what happened to our sister Breonna Taylor. And again, in a situation with Brother Amir Locke, the person that they was looking for wasn't even in the residence. And a brother who had nothing to do with their reason for being there wound up dead. That was the same in the case of Sister Breonna Taylor. So just to go to show that, although we've overcame so many struggles and battles over here in this country since the days of slavery, we still have challenges and battles to fight. Another thing I would like to make mention is that our history is before America, and that's the history we ought to begin to know and understand. And for me, it started with this, the Holy Scriptures. Before I go, I'm going to read what I would read to anyone, and that's Genesis chapter 2, and I'm going to go to verse 11, and I'm going to read something. It says, the name of the first, I'm going to go up to verse 10. It says, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into four heads, which is four rivers. The name of the first is Pison, that is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is that compasseth, which means surrounds, the whole land of Ethiopia. I mean, being a man of some knowledge, I know that there is only one Ethiopia in the entire world, and that's located in the continent known as Africa. So I say that to say this, that all these years of my life, it had never been brought to my attention that black people were in or of or had anything to do with this holy scripture. But that verse, when I finally understood it, it taught me different. And it gets even deeper than that. So my suggestion is, if we don't read any other book in our lives, this is a definite read regarding our ancestry, our genealogy, our history, our story, so to speak, and how we ought to live according to God. A deep read. I encourage, we read one book at a time. There's 66 books throughout the entire Bible. And I haven't been disappointed. So my encouragement is that we read this to learn it, to listen to it, and to understand it. And with that being said, I'm out.